Salutations and welcome to Tashana's Kitchen, and I am Tashana. Salutations and welcome to Tashana's Kitchen, where every day is a new day, and today is almond flour banana chocolate chip craisin day. So I have most of the ingredients put together or setting out to show you what we have here. So what we're going to need is 2 bananas, 2 room temperature eggs that have already been stirred, excuse me, a 1/4 cup of raw honey, a teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is my homemade vanilla bean and rum extract. And I went ahead and I took my 1/4 cup of craisins with the last that I had, and I put it in the vanilla when I took my eggs out to bring to room temperature. That way it had time to absorb the vanilla. And then we're also going to be using, like I said, 2 cups of almond flour. So I went ahead and I've already started to grind up my my roasted onions in my jar here. And I used my Mr. Coffee. I don't grind up my coffee with the Mr. Grinder. I use it for my nuts and my cooking recipes. And I know that I can put in about a 1/4 cup into my little grinder at a time. So I pre-measure that out. And I already have about a cup here. And we want to have 1 cup and 2/3 of the almond flour. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up that last bit, which I have my 1/4 cup. The last 1/4 cup I need, putting it into my grinder so you can see how that works. And then I had a couple of leftovers as I'm doing this and putting into my measuring cup. I have a little sieve, and I also have my little silicone spatula, and as I'm grinding up my almonds into flour, I'm dropping it into here so I can kind of sift through and see if I have any larger pieces left over. And then I do not throw them right back into my grinder. I set them in the top of the grinder like this. That way, once I put the last of my almonds in, I can put that in there. If you throw your almonds back in that have already been processed the one time, that have not completely processed and turned to flour, you actually can get them stuck down underneath your blades, and then you have to stop and clean it out. And that's for 2 reasons. 1, they're smaller, and 2, because they've started to powder up, and so now they are starting to stick to the grinder. So, little tip, always put the new that you're about to do, and then add the last as you put your lid on. And then I also like to leave my sieve resting. It just happens to fit on top of my pint, or excuse me, my half pint size jar lid, so it doesn't fall over while I'm doing this. So really quick, I'm going to just show you how this works. I have them in the grinder. It's going to get loud, just so you know. I do not run it completely like for 10 or 30 seconds, because what happens is you heat up your nuts and then you run the risk of turning it into an almond paste instead of an almond flour. So now I've rested it for these few seconds as I spoke to you. Gonna let it rest again. And since this is my last bout of making my almond flour, since I already have the over the cup, I want to be extra careful and not over grind it. The rest of it, if it became a little bit more of a squish, which was turning to paste around the edges where it may have gotten warm, once you put it into the other, you can kind of sift it with your small silicone spatula, and it can go back to your regular. All right, it's telling me it's done. That little sound. I'm going to take out right on the top. I see I have a couple that are in there. Now we're going to turn this way. Turn my blade using my spatula. Now this can be done as a bread or a muffin recipe. If you're doing bread, it would be a 1 loaf pan. If you're doing muffins, then it's going to be based on the size of your tins and how much you pour into your cup. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull out these top ones. You see they're a little bit larger still. Now once again, we are wanting and turn that back around, 1 2/3 cup of this almond flour. Now that I've gone through that, looks a little better. I think I'm going to put it back in there one more time. Pour the nuts from the top, sift it around a little bit. Get those bigger nuts back into the grinder. Now, these little ones I'm not going to worry about because they're going to go right in there. Alright. Put the last of them back on the top. Alright, that sounds way better. Apparently I didn't need to wait quite as long in between when I was speaking to you guys. Alright, now I'm going to pour that in out of my grinder. Have a little edge around with my silicone spatula. I want to get all that yummy goodness of flour out of my grinder. Makes less work for cleaning later. I love to cook and make the mess, but that doesn't mean I enjoy cleaning up big messes, so we just kind of want to clean as we go. So the more I get out of here, the better it is. Now I'm not going to wash this grinder. I'm actually going to use this, and I take it off, and I literally am going to just clean around, and it will get all of that out of there. Like that. And then I will wash that later. Now back to this. Alright, we're going to pour that in there. Alright, we have 1 2/3 cup of flour. I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and I can put that back on top, and we're going to just set that aside. Okay, and then in with your, excuse me, with this, we're going to, with the almond flour, we're going to go add in just a pinch of salt. And then we'll be adding in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now that I have my dry ingredients put together, I'm just going to go ahead and whisk that around a little bit. Not really whisk, it's more like sift it around with my spatula. And then if I see any more big clumps in there, I'm going to go ahead and take it out. And this is what she looks like so far. Dough's looking good. Alright. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. I'm going to mash up my bananas because I wanted that to be fresh. I didn't want to waste time sitting here getting everything else ready. And then when I come back, we're going to be adding in our 1/4 cup cup of, or excuse me, eighth cup of honey, 2 bananas, and our 2 eggs. And then we'll add in our vanilla that already has our craisins. And then lastly, we'll be adding in our chocolate chips. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to make 2 muffins without the chocolate chips, and that is for my furry friends, my dogs. Because anytime I'm in here baking, they think I'm in here making dog treats. So for them, I will do it without the chocolate chip. Everything else is just fine for them. So let me get these mashed up, and I'll be right back. All right, so I kind of jumped the gun. I went ahead and I put my flour that already has my cinnamon and baking soda back into my 2-cup measuring cup. Because as I was smashing my bananas, I realized, 1, not only did I dirty an extra dish because I had intended on putting it in here, but 2, this was not going to be big enough for me to add my honey and eggs without me being a sloppy mess and getting it everywhere. So now we have our 2 smushed or smashed bananas. Going to go ahead and give my little eggs a little whisk because they've been sitting here for a couple minutes. Add that to my banana. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my little silicone spatula because it does the best. All right. And then we're going to add in our honey, 1/8 of a cup of honey. Oops. I use some Crisco and put in the bottom of this first so that my honey would come out nice and easy. Ouch. All right, and now I did mess a little, so I'm going to just get that off my finger. So now I'm going to give this a little mix. Just kind of combined it, almost like I'm chopping it a little just to get it going and not going all over, mix it all over the place. And now, it looks like a little chunkiness, but that's great. We're going to add in, now this is optional, again, this is where you'd either be just putting in your vanilla or you're adding your craisins or your raisins, whatever it was that you put in to your vanilla for that little extra oomph. And just get a little swirl going on there, just kind of incorporate it, move it around. Now, something that I've learned is when you're doing chocolate chips, if you dump them in last and you don't put flour on them, they actually sink to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and put them into some flour and roll that around before I drop it in to my mixture. Now, if I wasn't making this for my furry friends, I would just be putting it into my almond flour, but I don't really want to pick out those chocolate chips that I'm preparing for them. So I'm going to go ahead and put my almond flour in. Again, that's 1 2/3 cup. Now we're not trying to beat this a lot. That's why I don't have my stand mixer or my hand mixer. We're just kind of folding it together a little bit because you do not want this to get like hard when it's baking. Speaking of baking, always make sure there's nothing in your oven before you turn it on. Getting my next treats ready already over there. All right, and always have this one area open where your heat's coming from. We're on 350. Didn't want to jump the gun and get that going too early. But now that I have my flour and my banana together, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once again, we're not over mixing, but I do want the eggs and the other wet mixture to be incorporated. And you get the edge and make sure you get all that yummy goodness mixed together. Going to get my flour. We're going to get some flour on those chocolate chips because I do not want to mix it with the almond flour. Okay, I pulled out our muffin tins. We are preheated. I have not done anything. I'm doing my first little swirl here. I have my 1/4 cup measuring spoon that I went ahead and filled one of my tins. And again, that is from a Furry Friends, and it is empty. I put my chocolate chips back into the flour area. I tossed it with some regular flour. And now I put the chocolate chips back into my sip, and I'm literally going to just get the excess chocolate flour off because I don't need a tablespoon of flour added to my mix. I just needed a dusting. My mom always told me not to play with my food, but as an adult, I seem to play with it often. Oop, I dropped a couple. I'll get this out. All right, so that's set aside again. And now I'll set that there. And the couple that fell in there, I'll just pull out and put on the top so I can remember that they are chocolate chip. And it looks pretty. All right, so I barely mixed that in. I have some muffin papers, and then I have these cute little pie tins that I have. I'm trying an experiment today. This is my bigger pan, and I don't want them to be that deep. I'm trying a holiday experiment, so I'm going to put a 1/4 cup in each of those. I wanted to see if I can make equal size little muffins for my friends and family. You know how you do those pie bars, like peanut butter bars and stuff like that? Well, I'd like to be able to do them individually and make them round, and then I can have my chocolate go all the way around it instead of having it cut and then they kind of sliver or fall apart. And if this works, that will not be a problem. So that's done. Here, put this here. Now these ones I made yellow because I'm doing banana, and that one that is white for my furry friends. I wasn't sure how far I was going to get, but I'm hoping I won't need any of those. So I can see if I'm close to the end here, so that's not going to be a problem. Looks like we're going to 3 more. And I'm all right with that. Can't wait to see how these pie ones turn out. Now I think what I'm going to do is get rid of these. That last one there. Gotta get all that yummy goodness. Alright, so if this was going to be a bread, I would be putting it in my preheated 350-degree oven for 45 to 55 minutes, depending on both altitude, my heating temperature, because everybody's oven is a little different, and what kind of oven that I have. So, because I am doing this great little experiment here and that, I am literally going to be watching this like a hawk, and I'm going to be thinking about like between a cupcake and a muffin, so I'm going to keep my eye open starting at 15 minutes. Now, as promised, I have these last chocolate chips I lost in there. Put one on each of these. Two over here. Now, there we go. All right, so in the oven we go. On my light, and I'll let you see how those look in about 15 minutes. All right, the timer just went off. So the other pies were done about 4 minutes ago, and I just turned off the oven, and I have the last of, here comes my furry friend to see what we've made. Hi, Trouble. His name is Trouble, but he's really no trouble at all. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just move these over, and I'm going to get theirs out to cool first. And put these other three on the tray real quick. Hi, there's my other furry friend. Hi, Bebop. Alright, so those are out. The other ones, I simply was able to get the edge with this and then get under and then set down while they were hot. They've had a second, so I'm going to just pull them out so you can see what they look like. Now this side is crispier. This has a little moisture because, again, this is banana. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn them over and let them sit out. Gotta love Crisco. Alright, so we ended up with, I'm going to get my furry friend sitting off to the side so it can cool the quickest. So you may see here, we have now ended up with our 5 little pies that were half, and then we have the 4 muffins, one being for the dogs to share. So that could have been a loaf or in a loaf pan, or you could do it like this. Now these are going to cool much quicker. I don't have to cut them, so we're just going to go ahead and take a look. Oh, look at that. Chocolate chips all the way through, top, bottom, because we put them in with the flour. Oh, that's still pretty warm, but I'm going to give it a try. That is really good. Done completely the same throughout. Has just a very tiny bit of crispness on the edge where it went to the edge of the tin, which it did not go over, by the way. So half a cup was perfect amount in there. And if you wanted, you could put a little glaze on there, but I don't recommend it. These are perfect. That first bite, I actually did get a craisin in there and a raisin. Not a raisin, excuse me, a chocolate chip. And it was a wonderful combination in with that banana. It's just sweet enough that it is almost too sweet. I'm glad I didn't put any more chocolate chips in there. But that craisin just mellowed it out perfectly. I hope you enjoyed this video on making our almond flour banana chocolate chip craisins. Like, share, subscribe if you know someone that you think would enjoy this, so they love bananas and chocolate. This is a fantastic little way to do it. And if you save your little tins like this, I have to tell you, these individual ones are great. I think I'm going to enjoy that better than my thicker muffins because, one, these actually did take longer to bake all the way through, but you have to open your mouth wider. And with the TMJ, it's not always easy to open your mouth wide, but this is perfect. So enjoy your day. See you later. Okay, so the boys came into the kitchen and they would like to have a treat. So let's give them one. Hi, Trouble. Here, Bebop. Oh, yeah. What do you think, boys? Ooh, look, you get another one. Trouble. Bebop. Good boys. You approve? Oh, yes, we have tail wagging, and they're waiting for more. All right, thank you. Everybody approves. My husband, as you can see over here, he's already got into them. We have 2 left. The three muffins and only 2 of the pies. Thank you again for joining me in Shauna's Kitchen, where every day is a new day.